You were born under a particular sign of the moon, as was your first change. Depending on who in the nation you ask, the moon in which you experienced your first change or were born defined your auspice. You have always felt the comfort of Luna, sister of Gaia, and valued her guidance, whether she shines fully on you or hides in darkness. The term auspice holds many meanings for the guru. It encompasses their personality traits, attitudes, interests, and pack duties. Each auspice is significant and essential, as no werewolf can fulfill all roles. When a pack includes diverse auspices, it becomes stronger as a collective. Moreover, the inner rage of a werewolf also depends on their auspice. When young werewolves begin their training, they study with an elder of the same auspice to learn specific gifts and their roles in werewolf society. Your auspice is an obligation, not social groupings fit with stereotypes. Your ties to Luna are just as important to your loyalty to your pack and sept, totem, or patron. She defines your rage and reaffirms your place in the universe. It is the literal embodiment of the Guru continual change in existence. Auspices are mystical and spiritual, interwoven into your psychological makeup. Your duties to her are both formal and liberating, a profession and a mindset. There is nothing in the natural world that can be compared to it. Your auspice is as much as you are to it. Ragabash Guru are born under the new moon. They are known for their wit, cleverness, and their ability to see beyond the surface of things. Ragabash Guru are considered tricksters and questioners of the old ways, and they use their humor and quick thinking to bring about change and expose hypocrisy. They serve as a reminder to their fellow Guru to question traditions and beliefs, to think critically, to never become complacent. I would usually follow this with a detailed history lesson, but that is something I could not provide with the Ragabash cub. The first Ragabash is a credit to Ahroun, I believe is the pronunciation, who you will learn more about during our eventual chat on the Black Furies. Gaia and Luna bestowed the Ragabash auspice upon those to provide change to a flawless world, to test its resolve, and to provide levity to our serious work. From my observations, the Ragabash of the waxing moon, the day after the new moon, are known for their cheerful and light-hearted demeanors and are often using humor to lighten the mood. On the other hand, those of the waning moon, 24 hours before the new moon, are a darker sort and are obsessed with shadows, secrets, and doom. The Ragabash are the auspices with the least rage, even less than the Theurge is considered to be so cool and calm. Rage is a detriment for a Ragabash who wants to excel in their role, unlike other werewolves. Fortunately, they don't have much of it to begin with. Even after the change, a new Ragabash doesn't feel the same amount of rage in their heart as their Ahroun or Philodox siblings. For this reason, they don't typically try to embrace their rage. However, rage can be useful in emergencies when their cleverness has put them in a difficult position. As such, most Ragabash see rage as an ace in the hole rather than the first tool in the toolbox. Rage is loud and overt, whereas New Moon prizes lateral thinking and quick wits. Giving into a rage-fueled frenzy could cause everything they have built to come crashing down. Their role is the trickster, imparting lessons through their pranks that can be far from pleasant in such a violent race as the Guru. Just as important is their ability to act as a voice of dissent or devil's advocate with far less of punishment from the Guru or other auspices. In a society as traditional and conservative as that of the Guru Nation, a free-thinking individual with the right to speak his or her or their mind is absolutely important, whether to encourage change or to reaffirm the current position through the challenges they provide. They're often known for their skills in scouting and assassination due to their association with the Hidden Moon, which signifies secrecy and stealth. Their role within the pack is to offer a different perspective and help their packmates find their target or escape from their pursuers. They also have a talent for using humor to diffuse tense situations or conflicts, often acting as the Omega to take the attention away from others. Unlike other guru, the Ragabash are not associated with a specific type of renown and can rise in rank through a combination of the three types. However, they require more renown to advance and find it harder to earn it as a result. The expression of Jack of Trades but Master of None rings true here. The other guru are wary of the tricksters and assume their accomplishments are motivated by ulterior motives. They are not typically given important positions within the set as they are not considered trustworthy. However, they may serve a purpose during a moot by challenging the sept's traditions at key points, which can either unite or enlighten the other members. It would, however, be most unwise to treat the New Moon tricksters as harlequins of the sept, for there is much wisdom to be learned from overcoming deception or failing from it entirely, for they are the question of the ways that break the mold, playing devil's advocate, as I said moments ago. They must always be a reason for it, rather than just for the sake of it, letting their pack, elder, or whoever's ideas, ruling command, etc. are being questioned to see all sides of an argument so that the right option can be taken, not just the obvious one. It is the lack of understanding that young cubs believe the Krynospawn were born for this, for they are natural rule breakers by existence. But the role of Ragabash is not to break rules without impunity, which, again, the Krynospawn are by existence. Some loopers born under the dark of the moon strongly believe in the flexibility of the pack. A Ragabash lupus may leave the pack before completing their first year, if they can. Wolves are naturally curious creatures, and the young lupus deserves answers to their questions, even if they do not require a reason for everything. Those who choose to stay may challenge their alphas, even if they were captive born. It is ironic that if a pre-changed lupus takes over their wolf pack, chances are they were born under the new moon. Once they become a guru, they rarely hold back out of respect for the hierarchy. While Homid and Krynospawn Ragabash may eventually learn to do the same, being born with rigid social structures means they must learn that some challenges are acceptable. A wild-born lupus, however, steps into a set as a natural questioner. Their packmates allow them to question and challenge them even as a pup. If the wolves can't answer their questions, they are allowed to leave and find questions on their own. Captive Ragabash are even more insistent with their questions. Raised where they cannot leave their packs and where their challenges are met with fights for authority, the lupus learn to fight for their right to ask questions. They are less accepting of "because I said so" than the normal lupus. They insist on the answers, and they will challenge this until they get them or until they are forcibly subdued. But if they are subdued, they are not above questioning their alpha's ability to lead if they can't provide clear answers to their questions. To some, this would imply that the Ragabash do not hold important official positions within the sept, and they absolutely do. There is always bound to be a new moon within the Council of Elders, and will often serve as a warder to an Ahroun, the eyes and ears of their patrols. They fill the role of gatekeeper well, just because of their natural sociable way, but on a more of a referee to the Philodox's judging in a pack, as well as the teaching and reminding those who fall and what their stories should teach us. A strange and possibly harrowing fact is that there is not as many Ragabash being born, which some have interpreted as another sign of the coming apocalypse, assuming we are not living through it already. The reason is practically unknown, as the face of Luna has not changed as much as there were fewer new moons, but one can hypothesize that the value of the trickster is not as important as it once was. Mind you, there is always some laughter and curious intrigue when the birth of one is announced or discovered. A Ragabash who has undergone their first change is likely to be equally curious as they are terrified by the metamorphosis. It is an exercise of testing the new senses and abilities, and are often the quickest to adapt of what they are. It is these explorations of the senses and skills that would be the focus of a cub's rite of passage too, but all of that needs training. Without discipline to fashion them into our ways, they can be the most difficult to clean up afterwards. Teaching is all practical through life itself. This extends into the Umbran spirits, who care capricious in nature and generally more understanding of the Ragabash. They see them for who and what they are, not to deny their natures, and the other moons have a habit of rolling their eyes at things they do not understand. It would not surprise the new moons talk a lot. Some would say too much, but the spirits like attention, almost as much as the attention they receive from the Crescent moons, the Theurges. To that end, the Theurges understand the Ragabash the most, as they are the closest to the new moon, and they appreciate the wisdom a Ragabash can bring. However, as the Theurge often has their heads engaged for the Umbra, it is the Ragabash that is the most likely soul to bring them back to Earth, as it were. As mentioned not too long ago, the Ragabash balance the Philodox to get them to listen to their pack and reason through different means, depending on the situation, pack, and sept in question. This, of course, can lead to conflict, verbal and physical, but it is apparent that no Philodox would lead as well without a Ragabash providing advice. Similarly, a trickster cannot bend minds and conceptions without information to go off, meaning that they must pay attention to the Galliards, even if it can be overwhelming, which are not my words. Just a general impression I found of other new moons. The Ahrouns, however, are on the opposite side. They are the full moon, the Ragabash, the new moon, or is it a cyclical scale rather than a linear one? The Guru are hunters and warriors, and the Ahroun are this personified, so what can one teach here? Well, consider the Ragabash a voice of reason to quell their rage, taking in some of their wisdom to their angry hearts, serving as the dark to the Ahroun's light. Many try to understand the Ragabash, including myself, and we all fail, but it is their title, Questioner of Ways, that truly defines them, far more than calling them tricksters and riddlers. Serving as Questioner of the Ways gives the Ragabash a lot of freedom among the Guru Nation. They can use humor, mockery, and satire to challenge those who hold power, but to strengthen the nation's position, not weaken it. It is something that is learnt over time, as is the art of reading people, so one knows how far to push and pull the pupil. The Ragabash must know their limits. The overused American and or right-wing chant of freedom of speech does not mean free of consequence. You are a fucking idiot if you are so attached to this privileged misunderstanding. If you chat shit, expect to be hit back. But if you don't have anything to worry about. The role of the Ragabash is not to play dumb and childish, but to be smart and educate, provoke, and postulate. Theurge Guru are the werewolves that are born under the Crescent moon. The Crescent moon, a knife wound in the sky, provides a sliver of silvery radiance, whilst the rest of Luna is in darkness. With this silver, the slender light of Gaia reveals her secrets to the Theurges, who attempt to pierce the seemingly endless shadow of the spirit realm, the Umbra. Out of all of the Guru, they possess a strong connection to the spiritual world, serving as the seers, mystics, and sorcerers of the Guru Nation, guiding the two worlds together, but not always in harmony. They are renowned for their ability to communicate with spirits, heal their fellow Guru, navigate the Umbra, and sense the imbalances in energies. They are humble advisors within their packs, respected for their wisdom and insight. The only Guru with less rage than the Theurges are the Ragabash, which is fortunate since many of the spirits avoid those with high rage, which is fitting as many could be described as intuitive, mysterious, secretive, and sometimes outright deceitful. Their enigmatic ways may come across as seemingly illogical due to their adherence to the ways of the spirits. It requires a different mindset to speak and think as the spirits do, for their understanding of mortal, Guru, and wolf concepts are next to non-existent. While their minds may be deeply immersed in the spirit realm and their packmate often needs to ground them in reality, so keep this in mind, cub. There are many dangers in the Umbra, and remaining there for too long is dangerous not just for yourself and your pack, but the Sept and the Guru Nation as a whole. For Theurges, wisdom is the most important form of renown, followed by honor. These are hard to gain quickly, so Theurges are slow to rise in rank. However, an old, wise Theurge can be invaluable to their people, even if their body weakens, unlike old Ahrouns, who are expected to eliminate their weaknesses, neglect or shove off said weaknesses. Alienation is a common feeling amongst Theurges, but it is one that extends to the concept of the first Theurge, whose tribe and identity, as well as their breed, depends on who you ask and the tribe of the storyteller. But there are always some consistent points in these many tales. The Guru is separated from the pack, tribe, and social circle. These tales, for which I've been told many throughout the years, also follow a narrative arc of 5 other stages or themes, the first of which is alienation. The rest are transgression, signs and omens, communication, sacrifice, and restoration. Transgression is the most varied, as it involves the Guru offending the spirit world. If left like this, nothing good can come from the goals of the pack and nation. The powers that can be make their displeasure known with signs and omens. Plagues, scorching summers, freezing winters, death or just strings of bad luck have all been common tales amongst the Guru, and I'm sure you have your own Homid tales to come to mind as well. Communication comes next to settle differences, but this is often preceded with heroic dives into the Umbra, passing many trials and ordeals to just reach the spirit, demonstrating wisdom, cunning, and honor. Then, the first Guru was taught the ton of spirits. Sacrifice comes from the death of the Guru themselves, for no death was more important in their story than their own, anguished and magnified to immortalize the martyrdom. Do you believe your Jesus Christ was the first piece of fiction with this idea? At least our tale served a fucking purpose. With the balance set right again, the tragedy cease and restoration can begin. What I mean is that the Guru under the Crescent Moon are humbled to learn of the first Theurge, that their sacrifice brought us all the knowledge to speak to the spirits, to understand them, so such an egregious travesty is not committed ever again, that we will never know the rage of Gaia as we did then. The rite of passage for every Guru under the Crescent Moon follows a similar symbolism. Their near-death experiences unite their bodies of flesh and spirit, bridging the two worlds we inhabit together. Whilst we can all sidestep and converse with spirits, the Theurges are conduits of the spirit realm. This covenant between Theurges and Luna is to ensure that the Guru never fail to pay the spirits proper dues ever again. The individual Theurge will experience the least traumatic first change, for they simply lack the rage of the Galliards and Ahroun, so frenzying is uncommon. A Theurge's first change is often accomplished by signs and omens from Gaian spirits, in a sense protecting the Guru, guiding them through dreamscapes that you Homids may refer to as trippy. Homids may explore wilderness through instinct alone. Lupus, of course, is connected more deeply than the Homid of the Crescent Moon to the spiritual essence of existence. Before undergoing her first change, they feel their harmony in the world, understanding their place within it and their natural ebb and flow of all things. Like the Ragabash, they typically leave their family packs at a young age. The pull of the spiritual realm, a call that even most kinfolk wolves seem oblivious to, is irresistible. Feeling misunderstood among their pack, they depart in search of someone who may understand. As they integrate into tribes and septs, Lupus Theurges are revered as supreme mystics. Rites, gifts, and spiritual diplomacy come naturally to them. While the wild-born Lupus may find solace in wilderness septs, the captive-born is equally at home in urban settings. Theurges dedicate a significant amount of time to fostering harmony with spirits, particularly in wilderness septs. Many spirits harbor deep resentment as their territories are encroached upon and the numbers of the Guru dwindle. Some view humans as the root of the problem and seek to place blame on them. Lupus Theurges serve as a natural intermediaries between such spirits and the Guru, earning their trust and cooperation where humans might fail. The greatest peril for the Theurge Lupus is becoming excessively attached to their spiritual existence. Just as humans can become overly fixated on the physical world, Lupus, especially Theurges, have been known to vanish into the Umbra, never to return. The Guru are uncertain whether they ascend to a higher spiritual plane or simply vanish as distinct entity. Regardless, the loss of another Guru is tragic, and one Guru lost is one too many. It will come as no surprise to you that the Theurges are the natural rite masters of the pack. They know, teach and perform most of the rites responsible for the benefit of the pack. Theurges not as seen as practical and rarely lead packs, though they often lead when in the Umbra or dealing with spirits. Theurges are often found in sept positions such as Caller of the Wild, Keeper of the Land, and Master of the Rite. Rites, especially mystic rites, Karen rites, and seasonal rites, are their natural domain, and they are inclined to learn almost any rite. One could argue it is the easier fit for a Krynos-born, for they are the most spiritual of all the Guru, but this depends on the Karen in question, as not all treat the Krynos-born equally or as progressive as our own. Some spirits loyal to the Guru extend this attitude to the litany as well. Within their pack, Theurges serve as guides and sources of wisdom in the Umbra, and actors of rites, creators of talents and fetishes, and sometimes medics. In battle, they typically provide support, but remember that even the calmest of Theurges possess the rage of the Guru. I suspect that as Homid, you are all taking this rather literally, so let me explain. No, you are not understanding. Shut up, Cup. The Theurge's role is both varied and nuanced. They serve as clergy, priests and priestesses who hold a religious authority on preserving the mystery and the fear that surrounds the sacred spirits, though through sermons and rites, amongst other things. We are all invested in Gnosis, but it is their job to ensure that our pride never allows disrespect, reminding us that the Guru and Thera are not the only things blessed by Gaia. Our spirituality provides some level of restraint to ground us. They are the truth, but a softer one of legends and prophecies, unraveling Gaia's enigmas, which is the stark contrast to the hard, literal truths of a Philodox may have to dissect. They teach those around them to perceive and revere spirits in the same ways as they do, sometimes extending to the mortals. Gnosis is shared between Guru and mortals, but the difference is that we do not believe, see, or believe all these things are alive, but we do feel the pulse of Gaia and her creations through the senses. You could argue that this is a goal of conversation or conversion, but it is making more humans perceive the damage that is being done so they can truly understand the nature of things and sow the wounds, I should say, of Guru they have caused. When you pause for a moment to consider the imbalance of the world, how the Weaver dominates Gaia, the difficulties the Theurges face, and the solitary task they undergo alone, which should not be the case. Theurges understand that whilst we can all converse with spirits, they have the greater understanding to know that they, the spirits, are not resources. This also makes them nurturers, compassionate healers, easing another's pain through reverence of Gaia. It is not always wanted, but it is often needed, as they teach us how to heal ourselves. Yes, I also mean this in a very literal sense, through spiritual healing and herbalism, but also of the corruption caused by the worm in the ways unique to this auspice, as I am sure you can imagine. Their allies in the Umbra make hoarders of secrets. Obviously, their role as messenger works the other way, making them a necromancer of sorts, which may have more political weight if the Theurge starts having visions of someone's ancestor's spirit, serving as a proxy to a sept, which also means they are the arm, making sure that the oaths to all spirits, to all those of the nation, are fulfilled. Ragabash and Theurges share surprising similarities and value each other's perspectives. Ragabash inspire Theurges with their questioning, leading to deeper spiritual explorations. Radical Theurges find support from Ragabash, while Theurges understand the trickster's archetype's spiritual significance and tolerate their teasing. If a Theurge feels disrespected by Ragabash, the relationship can sour, though this is rather rare. Theurges risk losing themselves in dogma, reciting rituals without genuine inspiration. Ragabash challenges this dogma, keeping traditions meaningful and flexible. Theurge's responses to Ragabash's challenges range from fear and outrage to calm debate. They may even envy Ragabash's disregard of responsibilities, finding it decadent, or however that word's pronounced, especially when Theurges must honor promises to spirits. Theurges often depend on Philodox packmates for stability and support. Philodox helps them stay grounded and organized while receiving mystical insight in return. This friendship is mutually beneficial, as both perform rituals and ceremonies together. Galliards and Theurges have shared responsibilities, connecting them to human society. Theurges focus on spiritual restoration and societal influence, but may lack the social finesse of Galliards. Together, they support social activism, environmental protests, civil rights causes, and alternative religious events. Galliard's stories of lone Guru heroes sometimes clash with Theurge's preference for tales emphasizing piety and morality. Younger Galliards may feel frustrated when elder Theurge's act as censors, but most respect the spirits and adjust stories accordingly. Ahroun and Theurges have little in common, being almost perfect opposites. Crescent moons are introspective and peaceful, while full moons are harsh and prone to anger. Despite their differences, Ahroun value level-headed Theurges as tactical assets, and Theurges rely and relay on Ahroun for protection in battle. They have professional respect for each other, but no strong personal ties. Friendships or rivalries between Ahroun and Theurges usually develop based on factors outside their duties. Most werewolves are overt threats with claws, teeth, and regenerative abilities that leave little room for subtlety. The Crescent Moons, however, go beyond this stereotype. Unlike the stealthy Ragabash, a Theurge uses wisdom and spiritual allies to defeat enemies from afar. Theurges are masters of the Umbra and its spirits, gathering allies like a messiah hoarders of gold. Even young Theurges can amass a significant number of spiritual allies. Anyone threatening a Theurge must face not only their pack, but also their spiritual defenders, often unseen and unexpected. Defense is crucial, but the primary reason beyond a Theurge's desire for spirit allies is an insatiable thirst for knowledge. Some Theurges, driven by spiritual wanderlust, explore dangerous umbral realms. These Theurges are combative and cultivate their rage, making them formidable adversaries in the spirit world. The Keepers of the Holy Mysteries is a continual and demanding role. The worm is here to stay, Cub, and someone has to look far, far into the future, and that is often the Theurges. And with many problems in the world, and the many ways the Weaver and the Worm corrupt the land, there are many solutions, each one with its unique angle to properly appreciate. The Philodox represent the half-moon and serve as our mediators, conduits of balance. They are the balance between human and wolf, rage and gnosis, flesh and spirit, fury and wisdom, love and hate, darkness and light, and liberation and order. This in of itself makes the Philodox very spiritually orientated, often possessing more gnosis than rage, which is vital for their roles within the Guru Nation. They are the law keepers of our nation and, of course, your pack, a referee of sorts, solving disputes between different factions of Guru, as well as the individual champions of Gaia themselves. They are the judge, jury, and possible executioner, something the bards perform with honor. With honor comes pride, accompanied by dignity. Judgment is not passed unless it is asked, for each must know their place within the grand scheme of things. Yes, Luna has destined the Philodox to serve as leader and ruler of their pack through times and peace, but they must also remember their rank within a sept and function within the Guru Nation. There are some small details to consider. Philodox of the waxing moon are known for their calm and fair nature, making them better arbitrators. On the other hand, those of the waning moon are seen as perfectionists and are considered to be more nervous than their waxing counterparts. They are often associated with maintaining order and balance, but such distinctions are petty, in my opinion. Any Philodox worth their salt is always going to seek truth and justice. When war comes, the wise Philodox passes that over to the Galliard, or more likely, the Ahroun, or of a similar rank, which complements the natural desire for balance found within the Philodox. Even through such times, one has to remain impartial and not favor packmates, keeping the laws of the Guru, the Litany, in mind and be the first to challenge and correct poor behavior. And when serving under another, as the role of advisor, you will be the best at what you're fucking doing. And before you ask, Cub, Philodox Krynosborn are not warranted of respect they may deserve as arbiters of Guru law, for they are walking violations of the Litany, and such a rule breaker does not make a good leader one can aspire to, particularly in a Philodox tale. If you were to ask a member of each tribe who was the first Philodox, you would get several different answers, but something that is found within all of them is how Gaia was wise enough to know that not all wars are done in the heat of physical battle. Much are done out of the spotlight. Perhaps the first instance of this balance was being acknowledged within our nation. The War of Rage ceased with a child of Gaia, Philodox. It was a Philodox that directed the creation of the Concordiate, the ancient agreement made by the Guru Nation to remain hidden from humanity nearly 9,000 years ago, after which the Impergium ended, the traditions of which are still obeyed today, spawning many leaders of great fame and infamy. And it is the Philodox who decide what each cub's rite of passage should be, coming to a compromise with each elder of a sect. The Philodox place great importance on the renown of honor, with a secondary focus on wisdom. Earning these two types of renown can be a lengthy process, which means that werewolves at the half moon may take some time to increase their rank. These guru commonly hold significant positions within the sept, such as Truth Catcher, Gatekeeper, Keeper of the Land, and Master of the Challenge. Like I, a Galliard, I'm in awe with language. A natural weaver of words, the Philodox have such a strong desire to bring balance and stability through our rules. Without the litany and tribal customs, what would we become? What were we, dear cub, before the litany? Yes, mindless monsters, blind from our purpose. Rules and orders keep us all in check. But to cast judgment, true judgment, and weight and meaning is difficult. Rarely will find easy solutions as a leader. I'm talking about actions that could potentially end your pack or endanger the sept or tribe because it is ultimately for the good of the guru as a whole. Ideally, the choices you would make would hurt the individual guru and not the sept, but again, the decision is not easy. You must punish your closest allies for breaking the litany and watching the consequences of their actions take effect. No mercy should be shown. Philodox are renowned for their mastery of rites, with a particular focus on punishment rites and rites of accord, which aids them in their needs of theirs. You feel that in your soul? That is the sort of decision-making I am talking about, cub. Rights are one part of this. Find the truth in a fog of lies, regardless of your feelings on the matter, because it has to be done. It is not only a set and a lead by example to all within the nation, but to uphold honor, to know who are equals and superiors, keeping your ears all to the ground. As a leader, you would also have to know how to best challenge those who wish to rise in rank, especially if you are in the position of deciding someone's rite of passage. Test their mettle, converse with spirits, and of course, mediate a dispute. Get your fucking teeth in someone's business, pull the cunts apart, and sort things out fairly. Altogether, this could take weeks. It should take weeks. But if they are worthy of the auspice, they will get it done. One is not born a leader. Most have the potential guide, but few rarely do it well. Philodox Homid tend to be better suited because they are taught the ways of the Guru Nation quickly, because they have to be. Ideally, they are taught it from birth, from both their parents and associate kinfolk, even if it's just the basics at adolescence. What are the basics? Respecting others, being honorable and not getting in another space. Come on, Cobb, I think you could have worked that out by yourself. If they don't have the privilege of being such a tight-knit, personal community, teach them the basics so they know what is expected of them and the duty they should hopefully perform should they pass their rite of passage. And as you need to be spoon-fed the fucking basics, a Philodox has to be a guardian and police themselves in order to police others. The half-moon blesses Lupus with a keen sense of justice, influenced by the life of the wolf. Philodox pups tend to stay with their packs, especially if a Philodox is present. They find comfort and guidance in the Philodox presence, especially before the first change. In Guru society, Lupus Philodox quickly grasp right and wrong, making them simple judgments. They face resistance to their instinctual half-moon ideals and the litany, while Lupus are less likely to punish offenders harshly for a first offense. They believe in escalating punishments for repeat offenders and may exile or kill true threats with little mercy. Many have such little regard for the Ragabash, but as we've talked about already, Trickster is often confused with trickery, and each has their reason, method, and lesson to go with it. The Philodox know this and use the Ragabash to provide a new perspective or remind us why certain laws are in place. Of course, the Philodox would also have to put said Ragabash in their place if they overstep the mark. Ragabash are painful allies to the Philodox. The Philodox can have a sharp eye for seeing the bare essence of things, which many spirits appreciate as they revel in showing off their true natures. But the Philodox also heavily rely on the guidance of the Theurges, who are the next in line to lead peaceful times if the Philodox can't. though many an Ahroun would argue that there is never a time for peace, for we are always at war with the forces of the worm, but that is a conversation for another time. On the more mundane side of things, the Galliard provide references on how the litany and the punishments that were dealt in the times of need in both major and minor ways. The Philodox would be wise to respect the Galliard, whose well-trained understanding of recent history arises. The Philodox has the final say, of course, but the Galliard provides the facts, and when war comes, the Philodox looks up to the Ahroun for guidance, as they should too to the Philodox. I say should, for they have the most rage and are most likely to use the Homid parlance, fly off the handle, but a wise Ahroun would always have a wise Philodox by their side. I hope you realize, Cub, that the Philodox are more than just arbiters of the litany. They also serve as the counselors, negotiators, and mediators, playing a crucial role in binding the Guru nation together through their actions in the present. Some choose to fulfill their duties by learning several languages to communicate as many Guru in many sets across the world, to understand as many of Gaia's children as possible, and to better judge them. It is a duty they take very seriously. They listen to the accusations, review the evidence, and render judgment on the guilty party based on their ideologies, holding their peers to a vision of purity that only they truly understand. They have various tools at their disposal for enacting judgments, including simple punishments for lesser transgressions and punishment rights for more severe offences. The only punishment for some crimes is death, and each Philodox determines which punishment fits each crime based on tribal ideology and the need for the Guru to remain pure and free of the worm's influence. The burden of judging other werewolves can take a toll on the Philodox, as they are more likely to succumb to a depressive state known as Ahroun. This tendency among themselves requires them to keep an eye on each other, intervening when they notice signs of imbalance and attempting to pull their peers back from the brink. Despite their balanced nature, the Philodox are not immune to the effects of Ahroun, and it can manifest through their rage, leading to periods of activity, punctuating the gloom with a tendency to mask their true emotions to avoid burdening others. The actions of the Philodox do not dictate their methods. As the adjudicators of the Guru nation, these werewolves have a lot of leeway in how they carry out their responsibilities. Frequently, regional customs shape the behavior of the Half Moon, as they often follow the same practices as their mentors taught them. Werewolves who appear before a judge for a transgression in a distant location should be cautious. The regulations in far places may differ from those at home. Those born under the Gibbous moon, the illuminated part of Luna is greater than a semicircle and less than a circle, make up the Galliard Auspice. The Moon Dancers, a nickname originating from the remaining pure tribes, are the creators, artists, and singers of the new songs we've seen in Hell for Gaia and her many children. Our mode of thinking is not one of rigorous training, but intuitive inspiration, not through rigorous training. Luna inspires us through battle and our moods. We are the poets, bards, dancers, storytellers, and more incarnate, keeping the traditions of the crew alive. We pass on the lore from the generation to generation, rousing the rage of packs from self-pity to revenge, beating the drums in revolution and war, and should be the title of leader be passed upon us. When the calms before the next storm approaches, we will lament those who have fallen, though we must remember to recount and honor the deeds of bravery, wisdom, honor, and glory of our packmates, making sure all those are properly honored. Those born under the waning moon orient themselves towards the darkness within, singing songs of war and chaos, whilst those of the waxing moon focus more towards happiness and joy. I leave it to you to work out which one I fall under, Cub. Our role within packs and the Guru nation as a whole is a difficult one to balance. We are more than glorified storytellers, but lawkeepers. As our culture is spaked in oral tradition, we are vital to the nation. Tales should have lessons one can learn from, which means understanding the natures and stories of the tribes and auspices outside of our own. In many ways, the Cryonos-born Galliards fits well with this auspice, as they grow up with these tales, our lore and warnings, so when the first change comes, they are several paces ahead of everyone else. Given what they are, rare is it for a Cryonos-born to rise to the ranks of leader or frontline fighter during a war, but more a trusted advisory role, which again is difficult for such a Guru. true. An oxymoron of guru culture does not easily motivate and inspire. That said, I met a few Krynos-born Galliards who incorporate self-deprecating humor into their tales. As the Theurges bargain and converse with spirits, it is often down to us to converse with mortals and other denizens of the world, despite our greater rage than other auspices. Our rage, remember, is bested only by the Ahroun, the warriors, but aren't all guru warriors of Gaia. Yes, and we all have our part to play, guided by Luna, but we are not always so diverse. When we're thinking of humans, the concept of boredom exists to us, so different guru changed how they hunt. The runts were cunning, playing their tricks under the new moon. Those who say things under the crescent moon are not always visible to us. Learning these hidden spirits could teach us things. The half moons understand the balance in things, how to give and take. Under the full moon, the full warrior is seen by all, conduits of rage and justice. Gibbous is a bit more difficult to sum up in such a short poetic phrase. We are the midway point between balance and attention to detail that make up the Philodox, and the passionate rage that are the Ahroun cousins. In plainer terms, we understand the importance of law and order, but yearn for the hunt. We are torn, longing for completeness, unable to have and thus achieve everything. We sing for about the things that we cannot have, teaching valuable lessons and inspiring hope to all those who are wise enough to listen. Our talents are diverse and incredibly demanding, which is why the gifts Luna gives us reflect this. To those looking in, our purpose can seem a bit vague, so allow me to cement some of the facts for you. Glory and wisdom are the two forms of renown most vital to this auspice, with glory being slightly more prominent. Mastering this Galliard auspice, if such a concept truly exists, can take a very long time, as we are entrusted with the endless task of gathering and protecting knowledge. A high-ranking Galliard is especially remarkable, not only for their renown and experience, but also for their exceptional social skills and charismatic presence. Ideal sept positions for these bards include Master of the Howl, Tale Singer, and Gatekeeper. They are most likely to perform rites of death and rites of renown. We are there to inspire the correct emotions for their right portions, of the mood. This should make plenty of sense to you, but I want to reinforce that our stories are pointless if the right lesson is not learned. You elicit feelings and emotions, things that stick around for years to come, not a knee-jerk reaction or a forceful jerk at the heartstrings you get from watching a Hollywood blockbuster. That's not storytelling, that's manipulation, and honor is not found with such cheap tactics. Manipulation does not keep tradition alive, it teaches the young to be weak, and we cannot afford to be weak when the world is being slaughtered for the quick gain of money, laundering sycophants who eject themselves to the moon when all they get's too fucking much. Sure, if you ask 3 people to tell the same story, you're going to hear it 4 different ways, but the truth and lesson from it should be there. We cannot hope to help the young if there is no trust. The honor we give the dead, celebrating who they are, runs hollow if there's no truth to our deeds. And when I say celebrating who they were, I mean this literally. You may think your human funeral ceremonies celebrate the dead, but they are dressed in a way to help the humans grieve. The lack the celebratory aspects of our kind. The role of Galliard develops as they grow in rank. Assuming they don't fill in the roles within a sept, many wander, not just to fill in the gaps of their knowledge of the tales they've heard many times before, but to experience them, or as close equivalents as they can, in the flesh. You begin to see patterns, understand how stories are told, and how you live through them, which is different than being the star of one's own film. It is important not to fall into this trap, because the Galliard can easily lose touch with reality, and I don't just talk about a sense of arrogance at the telling of the tale, but planning attacks, ambushes, and expecting enemies to behave as the Galliard wants them to, which is a very dangerous mindset to slip into. To that end, you will find a Galliard wishing to ascend in rank made to challenge guru of other auspices, to get them to think outside the box, as you hobbits say. It also means you have to become acquainted with the Umbra as well, to open your senses, put your toes in the land and give them a good little wiggle. Within a pack, they are the ones making sure the pack is doing what they should be, serving as good beaters and alpha Ahroun. Our discipline differs from the physical Ahroun, as our tales impact how the Sept views our own packs, which I don't think I need to extrapolate anymore. Not many Galliards would manipulate their pack in such a negative context, at least without some consequences matching the dishonor. We are the chosen representatives of the Sept to inspire or dismiss action, whereas the Philodox are the voices to implore during times of peace. Again, this can only work because of trust, but also possessing the skills to communicate effectively, but also having your wits about you, these tales yourself. Lead for example, not just be the idea person. Homids have many ideas and thoughts buzzing around, but Galliard Homids remember a lot, acting as a great confidant, which is said to change when the curse begins to take hold and others start to avoid them. This change comes with the first change when there is some relief with the Galliard, knowing there is some grander reason why the mortal friends became so avoiding. That is, once the trauma of everything else seeps away. When training begins, they soak up the legends like a dry sponge. For Lupus Galliards, such as myself, we have a more natural, greater memory for some of these instinctual life lessons that can and will be repeated, where it is dangerous to go, when the banks of the rivers flood, etc. and so forth. We can keep others in line pretty quickly, and we transition to the midway point between the wolf heart and the human mind faster, or easier, depending on who you ask. Like the Crinosaur, we are quick to pick up human languages quickly. We are also some of the best speakers of the Guru, for that is how most of our tales are told, or at least all the good ones are. Lupus Galliards tend to exhibit only minor differences from ordinary wolf pups. They play, learn, and experience life alongside their littermates just as any other wolf. The number of Galliards who disperse compared to those who remain within their packs is roughly equal. Their reasons for staying or leaving vary from a desire to explore new horizons away from the pack to wish to deepen their understanding of family bonds. When most homids think of Lupus Galliards, they immediately envision howling. Indeed, howling is the most innate form of expression for Lupus. Well done, give yourself a pat on the back. As Galliards master the diverse howls of the Guru, they push the boundaries of human language with essence and emotion. What they can convey through a howl is often lost in human speech. However, the wolves of the Gibbous moon are not limited to their voices alone. They frequently express their auspice through movement and shadow play. Observing a silent Lupus narrate a story by dancing in the firelight serves as a powerful reminder that sound is not always necessary. Beyond storytelling, Lupus Galliards play a role distinct from their Homid counterparts. While Homids immerse themselves in tales of the past and preserve ancient traditions, Lupus focus on the future. It is well known among the Guru that most seers are Galliards, but it is less recognized that most seers within the Galliards are Lupus. As a Lupus born under the Gibbous moon gazes into the future, Luna grants them visions and prophecies. Luna understands that her wolves have little use for distant history and instead provides them with insights into what lies ahead. Regardless of your breed, we all have a respect for history and an interest in stories, as well as a knack for telling them, regardless of breed. Galliards tend to have similar rites of passage, that is, if you exclude each tribe and present to their cub. We have a story to tell, but it is often involves finding it by learning by doing, but can also be an adaptability or cunning test, teaching that you cannot lose your head in the most stressful scenarios, as the Guru seek you for inspiration. Depending on the tribe, you are tested on diplomacy and combat, such as my own, but a rite of passage for a Galliard should also test their memory and skill, so you could tell a story and make it sound good. The Galliard is an auspice of heritage, constantly looking to the past and future. We are the record keepers of the Guru, traveling the world to learn and create new tales. We preserve stories in the Guru tongue, a skill respected by the Guru nation. Moon dancers seek old stories, not just to add to their repertoire, but hoping to find knowledge that could lead to the worm's defeat and secure their place in legend. Galliard Guru is the most passionate of their kind, howling their stories to the night sky. With boundless energy, a Galliard can lift their pack from lethargy or depression and push them to achieve grand glories. They must know their pack deeply, understanding their goals and aspirations. A Galliard's fortunes are deeply tied to their packs. A teacher needs students, and a storyteller needs an audience. Without a pack, a Galliard becomes a lonely figure. Detractors might see Galliards as glory seekers, but each finds their own path, driven by deep feelings for their pack and sept. What sings in a Galliard's heart? Only they can decide. Each werewolf holds something dear that keeps them going when the fight against the worm seems bleak. The driving force helps them inspire their pack and sept. To lead a pack, a Galliard must have boundless passion and energy. They reflect their pack's energy, driving them faster, harder, and stronger. Their howl is vital, calling their brothers and sisters to battle or singing a lament for a fallen warrior. Glory demands action that others can recount. A Galliard's passionate rage keeps them going, needing to defeat enemies with style and create stories worth telling. Personal glory is best when shared. For the Gibbous moons, glory takes many forms, just not always on the field of battle. Our spirit warriors are the beast incarnate, basking in the full glory of Luna's rays, illuminating their all-consuming rage. These guru, born under the full moon, are of the Ahroun Auspice. They show the greatest affinity to their animal brethren and make up the greatest of heroes of the Guru nation throughout the ages. War is the love and life of the Ahroun, and is often a task in of itself to keep them to stop killing. Ahroun Guru are the most destructive of Gaia's children and show no cowardice in battle, with many not fearing death. Why would they? Luna, in her full moon form, hides nothing, naked as a babe for all to see. Understandably, the young Ahrouns are far more plentiful in numbers than the old. Of course, if there was nothing more than bloodshed, we would need no need for such flailing beasts, but the Ahroun do have important roles within the nation. Like the Galliards, they inspire their people with their tact and physical prowess. The time for war has no need for stories of old. The Ahroun makes the ones to pass down to the future generations, leading the pack into battle through time the physical strife, providing the right tactics. They must protect their weaker packmates and be the last to fall, should it come to that. In short, their roles are more narrowly defined. They are the definition of Gaia's champions. I will add, just for your interest, that Ahroun of the waxing moon, that is the night before the true moon, are considered more straightforward and more fervent seekers of glory. Those of the waning moon are considered to be more concerned with asserting dominance. Hopefully, you have noticed two additional things can be assumed from the Ahroun Guru. They have the highest rage, making them the least sociable, particularly with humans, and the most prized form of renown to acquire is glory, followed by honor, with wisdom considered of the lesser importance to their sacred duties. Due to the quick obtainability of glory, Ahroun often rises in rank faster than others. However, their high mortality rates mean they seldom attain the highest ranks. Despite the generally high mortality rate amongst the Guru, Ahroun leads in this regard. Consequently, Elder Ahroun is a rare and truly awe-inspiring being. It is widely believed that Elder Ahroun is one of the most formidable creatures alive. Certain tribes, like the Silverfangs, bestow greater significance upon the Ahroun, reserving the title of king solely for them. Naturally, many Krynos-born Ahroun do not get the opportunity to shine as others might due to less nuanced outlooks on our society. Our function, our purpose, is to protect Gaia. We are her warriors. This is why we were created. Before the rest of the auspices is divided up the roles within the nation that would soon exist, there was only protector warriors. There is no singular or group of Guru who could be called the first Ahroun, because the first of the Ahroun were the first Guru. The other auspices defines how they differ from the Ahroun and their methods of projections. Theurges help us all understand what we fight for. Philodox remind and enforce our true ways, whilst Ragabash and Galliard defend the emotional and spiritual qualities that Gaia values, which in turn we should too. Some do talk of the Ghost Council, the Uktena, and their middle brother, the Croatan, being Theurge-like and Philodox-like offshoots to the Gale Stalkers, the Wendigo, but such thoughts are very much a minority opinion, as the Gelstalkers are the younger brother. But to go back to the Ahroun as a whole, as the most ancient of auspices, the Ahroun have the most direct and literal interpretations of Gaia's original purpose for the Guru. Among sept positions, the ones they are most likely to be found are those within are the worm foe and the warder, but we all protect and we all fight. Some fight when only they need to, whilst others go at it all the time, but we all do it, sooner or later. No guru will be spared of bloodshed, but the Ahroun are the warriors among the fighters. The Ahroun are devoted to battle, because it is their place. It is the most literal translation of the label I gave you at the beginning of the lesson: Spirit Warrior, warriors for Gaia, Luna, and the Wild. Yes, this has many facets across the spiritual, emotional, and psychological, covered by the other auspices, but the Ahroun is a physical element purifying the shit that walks the earth, which is spiritually enlightening in of itself. You may ponder on this if it refers to some of the other guru, like the Black Spiral Dancers, outcasts and traitors known as Ronin, or the sacrilegious skin dancers, or moon dancers as some call them. Absolutely, but the Guru of Gaia, that is not the way of a spirit warrior. You are now consumed with greed, pride, and wrath, sinful things born from the human part of us all, shutting off the spiritual world. It often comes down to putting an end to things that cannot be fought at all, whether it is someone who cannot fight back or a traitor who needs to be put down. A Philodox passes judgment and we carry out the execution, literal or otherwise, with or without the ceremony. Preferably, this is done without malice or ego, but it is a certain hardened individual to look into the soul of something riddled with fear or sorrow, knowing the end is moments away. But Gaia does not grant us the luxury of making tough decisions easy. Through times of war, these decisions come in the form of strategies and tactics, so stupidity is not something we should associate with the Ahroun. Being consumed by a high amount of rage warrants not one the mantle of stupid, but leaving the planning to the last minute is, so one has to plan efficiently or participate in the violent pre-celebrations beforehand if you belong to one of the warlike tribes such as my own, the Fenrir. We are all guilty of it, myself included. The Honourable Ahroun will listen to the elders and contribute when warranted. A warrior's wisdom, for it is not the average Ahroun to go into battle with a death wish, despite their high mortality rate. Far more victories are won by survivors than those who die, which may be a stupid comment to make, but consider how young cubs such as yourself are taught the only way to achieve high honor is by killing bigger and tougher foes. You don't do that, and you are ashamed of the nation. It is no wonder that Ahroun is such a large concern than before, but it may surprise you that the Ahroun are the least likely to fall under it than any other auspices. It is their duty to survive, one of the highest. You endure all the shit that is thrown at you, with your actions inspiring the living. That victory is still a possibility by committing to our duties to our tribes, auspice, pack, and set, in no particular order. But if I am to be frank, the Guru are not the best leaders. You may gasp and stare at me, cub, but that is a minefield for another time. We are frequently blinded by our rage, and our biases obscure what is factually true. And in the different functions of the auspices in their efforts, it can be messy. The Ahroun coordinate all of this, making sure the skill set of the other auspices are applied efficiently and is there when a decision has to be made in the here and now. The Ahroun must step forward. When it is the Philodox or Galliard giving the commands, they should slip into their roles as foot soldiers of the front line with honor, as they serve something greater than themselves. And if your pack falters, you share their dishonor. Some may argue that Krynos-born Ahroun are the best definition of Guru Spirit Warrior, that they can channel their rage through their frustrations of their existence, the harsh criticisms of the Guru society they are raised from, but you understand this instant come, that no pupil of mine will harbor such for more piss. Luna blessed us with the rage to the guru. It is a curse, yes, but it is also a tool, not an excuse to throw tantrums and shit the bed. It is not surface level angst. It is not uncontrollable, but embedded within the fucking soul. You blame the destruction of an elder's kinfolk on you not controlling your rage will garner you no sympathy, and everyone will know you is weak. And more insightful guru will know that feeling that you are too. Your rage is a hate-filled passion felt within your heart. The Ahroun are conduits of hate. Hate directed at the worm and weaver, and all the spawn it shits out. And where does hate gives us? Purpose, and something most humans can only dream of. It may be of little surprise that many Ahroun have violent first changes brought on by intense feelings or what may feel intense at the time, but it may add some comfort that if it summarizes your first change, Homid, lupus are no different either. Wolves born under the full moon tend to be larger than their siblings. They quickly establish dominance within the litter by greeting adults first, eating first, and looking out for the others. Similar to the Galliards, future Ahrouns have different opinions on whether to leave or stay with their packs. Those who depart usually do so because they prefer not to be part of the pack hierarchy, knowing they are above it, but realize usurping one of their parents would be pointless. Those who stay acknowledge their parents' dominance and concentrate on protecting the pack. Lupus Ahroun understand their purpose to fight and protect. They never feel the need to find their places in life, even as wolves. Unless a higher ranked Ahroun leads the pack, a lupus will insist on leading any attack. If resisted, they will challenge the opposition and relent only if they lose the challenge. Lupus rarely hold personal grudges, especially against their own packmates. They let the actions and consequences of the leaders speak for themselves. This should hopefully remove the idea that a lupus Ahroun is a rampaging, snarly wolf tearing human apart with no mercy. They're warriors, the primary hunters and killers, but they are anything but mindless. They attack deliberately, with better control over their emotions than many other moons. Wolf Ahrouns are masters of pack tactics, naturally knowing exactly where everyone needs to be and what everyone should do. Despite this, they must fight against the stereotype of being thought as mindless attack dogs, which is immensely frustrating, as I'm sure you can imagine. The rite of passage for the Ahroun should not surprise you either, as there is little deviation from tribe to tribe. You take out a chosen worm's form, Fomori, Bane, etc., which only becomes a horrifying thought when you stop to consider the challenger is often a teenager or someone in their early 20s who has just endured the literal gutting of a relative or loved one, being put up against, for all intents and purposes, a monster, with a bunch of strangers cheering you on. Now, if you're lucky, you'll know what the worm is, and yet, at the same time, it'll be the first time that an Ahroun would find acceptance. Remember, the auspices are of the soul. Regarding the other auspices, the Ahroun are easily triggered by the ways of the Ragabash, not one for social games or the tricks the Ragabash perform to challenge tradition. Their rage and their ways are often confused with bloated egos, which many of them do, of course. At opposite ends of the lunar cycle, they don't really understand the handing of rates between each other and how they control their own. To that end, the Ragabash do make useful, stealthy tactical weapons, but are also the largest aid for an Ahroun on the verge of succumbing to Hirano. Theurges represent everything the Ahroun fight for, the other spiritual warrior, as it were. When the Ahroun remembers to keep their heads on, the shamanic whispers of the Theurge serve their roles well, but it is most likely the Theurges who will be most shocked at the destruction of the Ahroun, as Theurges are more pro-life than the other auspices. That isn't to say the Ahroun are not traumatized by their own violence, but the Ahroun deal with it themselves their own way. The two auspices can clash. Sometimes. The Philodox can understand the Ahroun better through their shared relationship of leadership roles and the elevated rage, even if it is less than the Ahroun overall. We have discussed already how the wise Ahroun in a leadership role will adopt the Philodox as an advisor, for they have the clarity in their vision where the Ahroun do not, as frequently as they would like. The Philodox will be the only auspice to say this openly, to their face. They have to, otherwise many will die through rage-induced foolishness. The Ahroun understand and appreciate the Galliards too, for they will sing the song and tell the stories of the Ahroun that fought and died for honor and glory, passing on the wisdom of their failings for future generations to learn from. Of course, many Ahroun are only in it for the glory and may bicker with the Galliard and how they are represented or portrayed, which I think is the most suitable word for it. The Galliard can do plenty to nullify their ego and truth. They are both passionate and are most likely to connect in some degree of friendship. You also would know that as a Galliard, my rage is closer, if not on par, with an Ahroun at times, making us the backup Ahroun on more than one occasion. It brings them some respite on more than one occasion. We have to understand them a lot more than the other auspices, or at least the rage they harbour, and we offer the sworded tongue to the actual sword. The frontline warriors in the war against the worm, the Ahroun, do not shirk from battle. No. They seek it out. They crave it. Not necessarily bloodlust, although the Gru Nation does contain quite a few who fit that description, and not all of those are full moons. The truth of the matter is that boiled down to its truest, purest essence, these werewolves crave the competition. Battle is a true test of self, of skill, strength, speed, toughness, and perhaps most of all, self-control. By pushing themselves in combat, Ahroun knows their limit, more to the point, both how and when they can push past them. By finding their boundaries and finding proper ways to exceed them, they win a skirmish sprint while saving themselves for the war's marathon. Because of this, the Full Moons believe they know better themselves than any other auspice. How can they not? After all, by finding themselves on the battlefield and measuring their qualities against their foes in the ultimate test, it's an easy deduction to make.
To be kept updated, follow the Law by Night VTM Instagram and Blue Sky pages to find out when we upload each episode. You can also find out by subscribing to the YouTube channel and clicking on the little bell, as you'll be immediately notified when the latest episode is live. Until next time, farewell.